Please welcome to the program the always interesting, dynamic Donald Trump. Donald.
You are like everybody's dream of America. You know, you live it like the rags. Well, you didn't really have rags, but I mean, all the riches and everything that America can offer, you got it.
Well, I've had a good time. I've enjoyed myself. I've enjoyed my life. And
so you've sort of become like a folk hero. I mean, people. There's someone in this audience. I was reading the audience list. Some man who's a businessman. You can tell me who you are later. Who went to New York and just wanted to stand by your building, hoping some of the luck would run off.
Is that true? Is he in this audience?
He's in this audience.
We have to find him.
Yeah.
We have to
and so how do you explain that? Or is there an explanation?
I believe that you make your own luck to a large extent. Well, the word luck is a very important word. Very important. There's no more important word than luck.
Sadly, the American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Critics often say that Donald Trump is a shallow showman, an egomaniac who wanted to be president just for the sake of it. They say he only got into politics to serve himself and his businesses, and that he lacks the experience and knowledge required to perform the role of President of the United States. He's inconsistent, they'll say, with the only consistency being that he's out for numero uno, Trump. But is this true? Why did Trump run for president? And how can we know for sure? Well, if you listen to his own words, the man speaks for himself and says exactly why he wants to make America great again.
Trump likes the attention he gets from crowds, from the establishment, and from the press, but he is very sensitive about the press.
I don't think they've portrayed what I'm really all about, necessarily.
Okay.
I've never seen press reporting as I have with regard to me. And I hope the general public understands how inherently dishonest the press in this country is.
I think a lot of the press is very dishonest.
The news gets away with murder, the news media.
I find the press is extremely dishonest, okay? Very dishonest. There's tremendous dishonesty in the media. Tremendous dishonesty.
These are very, very dishonest people. Okay. We are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
The news about me is largely phony. It's false.
Does that get under your skin?
No, because you see, I think I'm right, and when I think I'm right, nothing bothers me. When I see a total ripoff of this country by Japan, where they literally have no defense budget, where we have to borrow money from them in order to get them oil and defend the Persian Gulf, where most of the oil goes to Japan and other countries, not us. We get 4% of our oil. When I see Kuwait, a total ripoff. We're bringing the Bridgeton. You remember the Bridgeton? Their oil minister sat back and he laughed at how much money he's going to make. Why aren't we getting some of that money? Why aren't we getting it? They're taking in billions and billions of dollars, and we can't even land a helicopter on Kuwaiti soil. You tell me that's right. Saudi Arabia was making $1 billion a day. Saudi Arabia, they wouldn't even be there except for us. And in Saudi Arabia, we couldn't even use their minesweepers, Phil. You know it. We defend Saudi Arabia. They wouldn't even be there.
Saudi Arabia, without us, is gone.
So we defend Saudi Arabia. Every time there's a problem, we send our ships, we go crazy, right? We spend a fortune. We get paid peanuts for this. The United States is systematically being ripped off by many of the wealthiest countries of the world.
It's a shame what's happening. Japan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, everybody's taking advantage of the United States. People know that if certain people are running a country, that it won't happen.
If the right person asks them, they pay a fortune.
We are supporting nations now militarily. We are supporting nations like Saudi Arabia.
which was making during the good oil days, which was a year ago, now they're making less but still a lot, $1 billion a day. We are supporting them militarily, and they pay us a fraction of what they should be paying us and of the cost.
What right do we have to go out and defend? Why aren't these countries, these wealthy money machines, paying us for the defense of their freedom and their nations? Why aren't they paying us?
We are kind of the world's keeper, are we not?
I don't believe we should be.
Well, we have wars. We go in, we have a war, we spend 10 years there. You know, we won the war, we're just policemen. We're policemen. The minute we leave, the thing's going to blow up. The United States cannot afford to be the policeman of the world anymore, folks. We have to rebuild our own country. We have to stop with this stuff.
If you look at the payments that we're making to NATO, they're totally disproportionate with everybody else's, and it's ridiculous.
NATO has to be either changed or we have to do something. And we shouldn't be paying most of the cost of NATO because it's unfair. It's unfair to our taxpayers.
When West Germany and all of these other countries are ripping us dry, and we're losing hundreds of billions of dollars.
You have countries in NATO, I think it's 28 countries. You have countries in NATO that are getting a free ride, and it's unfair. It's very unfair. NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations. But 23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense. This is not fair to the people and taxpayers of the United States. But since last year, they've raised an additional $33 billion that's been put up by the various countries, not including the United States. We are also getting our allies, finally, to help pay their fair share.
The country is losing $200 billion a year. $200 billion. This country cannot continue to lose $200 billion.
Mr. Trump, I want to thank you for being here today and for your stand on American manufacturing over the years. I think one of our problems has been that we've been talking about free trade far too much instead of fair trade. And as a result, we're all feeling the effects of it. And I think some of the people behind you are some of the people who have been hurt as a result of some of the pressures on free trade of exporting jobs overseas. Again, Mr. Trump, thank you for being here today, and I'd someday like to pursue some of your thoughts on the manufacturing further.
Thank you, ma'am.
We let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country.
Look on another front what happened recently where Clinton has asked our so-called trade partners to come so we can renegotiate some fairness into trade, right? They don't show up. They say we're not coming. In fact, unfair trade is perhaps the single biggest reason that I decided to run for president. If we go back and negotiate with Japan and Germany and lots of countries, France, that are just ripping us, Saudi Arabia, you look at these deficits, that are just ripping us big league, I think you can do a combination of tax cuts and pay off the national debt. South Korea, when you want a television set, we go to South LG, Samsung, they're all made in South Korea. It's a monster in terms of economic. That goes with air conditioning, it goes with so many different things. Even ships coming out of South Korea. This country loses trillions of dollars in bad deals that we make with really countries like Japan, with the cars. You try and sell an American car in Japan. By the time it gets off the boat is sitting there 40 weeks as they're trying to get the first car off the boat. I mean, they're just ripping us, and they're ripping us big league. So what's happened to the country is trade deals done by incompetent people. We had incompetent people. We've made terrible trade deals. What we've done, even worse than trade in the pure sense, is our companies are leaving because we almost encourage companies to get out of the country because we have no policies, we don't know what we're doing. I believe that this country is being ripped by so many other countries all throughout the world. China's stealing our jobs and stealing our money.
so many other countries are ripping us off.
I'll bring back our jobs from China, from Mexico, from Japan, from so many places. I'll bring back our jobs and I'll bring back our money. For decades, the United States allowed other countries to steal our jobs, close our factories, and plunder our wealth. What was happening was horrible. I used to talk about it for 20 years in the private sector. I said, how did they let this happen? Little did I know I'd get my shot. We are doing numbers that no one would have thought possible just 3 years ago. Likewise, we are restoring our nation's manufacturing might, even though predictions were, as you all know, that this could never, ever be done.
I want a piece of that. I want the money so that we can put the money into Harlem, so that we can give the money back to education. Because that's the big picture, but that's the real picture. That's why it bothers me so much that when we give this kind of money to the wealthiest countries in the world, and yet for our own people, the homeless, the sick, the poor, the farmers, who are really going through hell right now, those people we're not helping. And why should we? I think it's ridiculous. And this country shouldn't be raising taxes, we ought to be lowering taxes. We should have a surplus, not a deficit. When you put a tax on Japan for the products that they're selling, you will bring in hundreds of billions of dollars to this country, which can go to rebuilding our inner cities. Instead of giving Japan free military defense, you charge them for what they're getting, and you bring in hundreds of billions of dollars that if the right person asked, they would gladly pay, because they'd have to pay. You bring in hundreds of billions of dollars, which money can go toward the inner city, toward education. I am a huge believer. I'm very well educated, and I'm a huge believer in education, an unbelievable believer in education. That is a long-term solution. I wish it could be a shorter-term solution, but one of the things you need for education is money. We have a country that's losing $140 billion a year, at a minimum. I think it's much more than that, by the way, but at a minimum. This country is busted. And it's busted because we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing. If we had business ability in this country, we'd be making lots of profit, so-called surplus profit.
$300 billion in foreign profits have been brought back home to America where it belongs.
I'm, again, somebody that has a good instinct financially. I have had historically. I followed markets. I've been going in the right direction, whether it's New York real estate or stocks or whatever. I know from a common sense financial standpoint that something has to burst. When a country is losing billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and when other countries are making hundreds of billions of dollars, something is going to burst, and it's going to start here. I know it. It's a question of when. To me, it's not a question if, it's a question of when. And unless we're going to solve our problem, and the problem is caused by our allies, unless we're going to solve that problem, this country is in very, very big trouble. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our country is falling apart. Our bridges are falling down. You know, 60% of our bridges are in dangerous condition, and we're spending trillions and trillions of dollars in the Middle East. We must also rebuild America's infrastructure. You see, I'm so loyal to people. Maybe I'm loyal to a fault, but I'm so loyal to people that when somebody's slightly disloyal to me, I look upon it as a great act of horror. Because I'm like this great loyalty freak. I'm loyal to a point of the absurd. Look, I'm a loyal person. I'm going to be loyal to the country. I'm loyal to people. I'm loyal to the country. I'll be loyal to the people. And through our loyalty to our country, we will rediscover our loyalty to each other. That's the kind of thinking our country needs. We need that thinking. We have the opposite thinking. We have losers. We have losers. We have people that don't have it. We have people that are morally corrupt. We have people that are selling this country down the drain. I mean, I know these folks well, and some are dumber than a rock. And I know who they are. I know the smart ones. I know the not so smart ones. I mean, we're being led by stupid people. We're being led by people that don't have a clue, they're incompetent. Our leaders are so stupid that we do this. How stupid are our leaders? How stupid are these politicians to allow this to happen? How stupid are they?
You should not have called Mayor Koch a moron. That was not good public relations.
Hey,
What can I do?
Well, doesn't it, this kind of language from someone of your power and influence is not good style?
Phil, from my standpoint, it doesn't really matter. Again, I'm not running for office. If the point is made better by saying that, let the point be made.
If people screw me, I screw back in spades.
I mean, is there something wrong with that? Tell me. Phil, is there something wrong with that? I think people see me as a fighter. I think people have always seen me as a fighter.
If somebody has hurt you, if somebody's gone out of their way to hurt you, I think that if you have the opportunity, you should certainly go out of your way to do a number on them.
Get even. When somebody screws you, screw them back, but a lot harder, folks.
We don't have time to be totally politically correct in this country. Our country's in serious, serious trouble. But a lot of times you can't practice tone because you have people coming at you so hard that if you don't fight back in a somewhat vigorous way, you're not going to win. And we have to win. This country has to win. We have a lot of victories coming. And I think if I go too low-key, we're not going to have those victories.
I feel that this country with the proper leadership can go on to become what it once was. And I hope, and certainly hope, that it does go on to be what it should be. What's happened is phenomenal. I've never seen anything to the extent that I have in New York. It now, from a real estate standpoint, has probably become the hottest city in the world. People are flocking here by droves. And I guess a lot of things had to do with it. Mostly, I feel it was the psychology of making New York a winner as opposed to a loser. It's just a place where everyone wants to be. People want to come to New York. They love the city. They want to be here. They want the action. You know, New York has action. New York is unbelievable action.
The fact is that everybody wants to be where the action is, and the United States of America is indeed the place where the action is.
Of course I want to put the best foot forward. I'm not going to say, oh, gee, everything is terrible. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm optimistic for the country.
Well, I think the country's going to be great. It's the greatest country ever in the world, and I think we have a great future. It's going to continue to be a terrific country. We love it.
You've said that you could do a better job at negotiating an arms control agreement with the Soviets than some of these professionals who've been trying to do it for years.
I didn't say me, Mike. I said somebody has to do it. If it were me, that'd be fine. I could do it. It's time for a change, and we have to sit down with the Russians and many others. Look at North Korea. North Korea is developing missiles like nobody has ever seen. And we better do something rather quickly with them, hopefully through negotiation. I would negotiate like crazy, and I'd make sure that we tried to get the best deal possible. If spoken to correctly, they will play ball. If a man walks up to you on a street in Washington, because this doesn't happen, of course, in New York, but if a man walks up and puts a gun to your head and says, give me your money, wouldn't you rather know where he's coming from before he had the gun in his hand? We're a bunch of saps. There's no question that North Korea is developing missiles. We give them nuclear power plants. We give them tremendous aid because we thought we could bribe them into stop development. Well, they're developing. Tim, do you know that this country went out and gave them nuclear reactors, free fuel for 10 years? We virtually tried to bribe them into stopping, and they're continuing to do what they're doing, and they're laughing at us. They think we're a bunch of dummies. I'm saying that we have to do something to stop. And would you rather have a very, very serious chat with them now? And if necessary, you might have to do something fairly drastic, or would you rather have to go after them in 5 years when they have more nuclear warheads and missiles than we do? You better do it now. And if they think you're serious, I deal with lots of people. If they think you're serious, they'll negotiate.
One way or the other, we have to do something. We cannot let that situation fester.
North Korean nuclear weapons and missile development threaten the entire world with unthinkable loss of life.
Hopefully we'll go in the very, very peaceful, beautiful path. We're prepared to go whichever path is necessary. North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. We've developed a great relationship. I really think that if you go back 2.5 years and you look at what was going on prior to my becoming president, it was a very, very bad situation, a very dangerous situation for South Korea, for North Korea, for the world. And I think the relationship
that we've developed has meant so much to so many people.
Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would run it, but I would like to see somebody as the president who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile. Hey, I'm not running for anything, Phil. I'm not running for office. I don't have to lie in a book. I want to tell the facts, okay?
Well, now I'm a politician, but I'm not acting like a politician because I tell the truth.
Again, I'm not running for office, so it doesn't matter. I can stand up here and, unlike a lot of people that I watch, I can say what I think.
But you definitely are a political person, whether you run for office, by what everything that you say and do points in that direction.
So if there were politics, it would be as a Republican.
It would be, I guess, as a Republican, but I don't see that there will be politics.
You have flirted with the idea of politics. Now you're here at your first national convention. Does that get you interested in possibly making the plunge?
Now you have to tell me something. Who told you I flirted?
Well,
I didn't know that I flirted.
Well, you took out full-page ads in the New York Times to talk about your foreign policy. Some people would say...
I do feel very strongly about the country. I love the country.
There was a time in which you wanted to tease America that you might want to run for president.
Well, people said that. I never did.
But you have said that if you ran for president, you'd win.
I think I'd have a very good chance. I mean, I like to win. When I do something, I like to win. I like to do well, and I think I probably would have a pretty good chance.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country.
You act like you're running for something.
No.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing, this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage.
Donald, you're in your late 30s. You got 40 years to live, minimum.
Well, I hope you're right about that.
What are you going to do?
There are a lot of things to do. You know, a fertile imagination and a good fertile mind, Mike, it's really amazing what can be thought of. There are so many things to do.
Politics?
So many. No, not politics.
Would you really like to take over and run the country as you have run your organization?
I would much prefer that somebody else do it. I just don't know if the somebody else is there. I don't know if we have the kind of advocate that you need. We need major surgery. This country needs major surgery.
Are you the surgeon?
I think I do a fantastic job, but I really would prefer not doing it.
Are you saying you will take it only if drafted?
No, I'm not saying that. The National Enquirer, of all folks, did a poll recently, and they said I'd win the election. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's not true. I am absolutely serious about conceivably running for the office of president, and if I run and if I won, I think I'd be a really good president.
A job like president requires a big ego. Now, do you think you can handle it?
I'm not sure my ego is big enough. That's one of the things which I can...
Really? Can I write that down?
You can write it down. Maybe people will pay me $10 million to live in a building that I built, but they won't pay me 2 cents to press a lever saying Trump for president. That's possible. Again, I don't want to end up the day after the election back in my office in Trump Tower. It's a beautiful office. It's a great place to be. But either I run and win, or I just don't want to run at all.
I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
So help me God. 3 years ago, we launched the Great American Comeback.
Somebody has to help this country, and if they don't, the country and the world are in big trouble. Because within a short period of time, as sure as we're sitting here, there's not going to be a country and there's not going to be a world. Our country's been losing for so long, it can't go on like this. We're not going to have a country left.
The best is yet to come. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
The country, if we had the one man, and it's really not that big a situation. You know, people say, well, what could anybody do as president? The one man could turn this country around. The one proper president could turn this country around. I firmly believe that.
This is Brian Wilson with Infowars.com.
You can't stomp the Trump. You cannot stomp the Trump. You can't stomp the Trump. You cannot stomp the Trump. You can't stomp the Trump. You cannot stomp the Trump. You can't stomp the Trump. You cannot stomp the Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Drain the swamp. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Drain the swamp.
We need to build a wall.
He's gonna build that thing up taller than this. Well, if he does build it, I hope it's rock solid with bricks.
I'll tell you what it's going to be made of. It's going to be made of hardened concrete.
That. This is for Trump. Ball up a fist. And keep that shit balled.
Thank you.
We love our military. And we love Trump.
Thank you very much.
You're either for or against. And if you can't decide, I'll do it for you with this. We better give Trump props, cause what we got in office, he'll just gas his plane up and fly around. Bing, bing, bong, tightened, rising. That's not disrespecting the military.
Slim Shady is a winner.